Here we'll paint a moonlight scene, and we'll paint some foliage in the moonlight. I'm painting mine in Prussian blue and white. You might want to do yours in burnt umber and white. We start out by painting the whole area that has to be painted with your background colour. Mine is Prussian blue, and we're working wet on wet, so we try to get it on reasonably quickly. And in doing this, I'm using a spray of water. Now you watch what happens here when I spray the water. It makes a terrible mess of the painting. So if you are going to use this water spray idea with your acrylic paint, it's okay. But do not use it on a painting that you've done work on. Now before the blue paint dries, we'll put in the area where the moon is. Don't try and copy mine exactly. Pick up a daub of white paint right on the tip of your brush, dab it onto your painting, and then with a crisscross brush stroke, spread it out in the area where you need your moon. Don't keep going back over the middle bit because we want this nice and bright. As you move out with the brush, you'll see the brush will pick up the darker paint and it won't be so bright. And just leave it like that because it looks like a mist around the moon. Now with just a little bit of white on the brush, I didn't clean the brush. We'll put in the mountain and just scrub it in, but you keep concentrating on the top of the mountain. We don't need a sharp line there. Keep your mountains low with a gentle curve and not up and down like a sawtooth. And you must be careful not to drop them off at the edge of the picture. My mountain's a little bit bright. I'll darken it by scrubbing some darker paint into the bottom. Now for the moon, I'll pick up a little bit of white on the tip of my finger and touch it in where I want the moon and round and round. You don't have to use your bare finger. You can wear a surgical glove or use a little brush. I think that could be brighter. Let's have a little bit more white. I'll touch it up and we'll have a bit of a bright spot. Ah, there's the man in the moon. Now here's where you can decide what you want in your painting. Work out what you want by what you have already, and then put things in there that you like. Maybe you like figures, maybe you like trees. It's quite easy because all you have to do is paint the silhouette. In my painting I'll have trees, but before I paint the trees in, I need to get some background light in the middle of the painting. I'll load just a little bit of white on the tip of the big flat brush, and I'll unload it very horizontal. Don't drop it down at the edges, keep it up at the edges, and then I'll unload it again underneath. Don't go back over it, just leave it like that. Now for the trees. With a flat hog bristle brush I'll make a mark to get started, and then I'll brush in what is the silhouette of the tree. The corner's square, the tree's round. So don't make your tree squared, it's a round tree. You need to paint in the trunk, not too big. I'll paint it in small to start with, and then we'll think about how big we want it. We don't want it too thick because this is only a little tree. You can have a big tree that extends way up past the top of the painting. Now I am loading this brush often and painting in these little umbrella shapes. They overlap and they're all umbrellas. Try to make your tree a very natural shape. And then a couple of big branches. I'll add them with a flat brush. You can use any brush you wish here. Then again with a flat brush, I'll load it with a little bit of white and add where the moonlight is shining on the edge of the foliage. Not too much, we can always add more later. And do exactly the same if you're working with figures or working with trees. Put your moonlight down the inside, and then with any brush you wish to use, paint a few branches within the space of the foliage. If you make a mistake, just cover it over with dark. With some dark on the flat brush, we can block in some trees. These are a long way away, so don't make them very tall. Then with some white on the edge of the brush, you can use any brush here again. We'll touch in what is moonlight on the edge of these trees. My brush is a bit too bright. I'll clean it down here a little bit and leave the bright in the middle of the picture where I want it. We don't want this foliage brighter than the moon. Oh, they're a little bit bright. Doesn't matter, there's not much of them. Always put a bit of dark under your trees. Now I want to criticise this straight away. You see that white bit there? It attracts your eye to there. I prefer if it was dark back there. I'll just cover it over a little bit. That keeps your eye into the middle. But that's no good either, see? It looks like a square there. We don't want anything there that looks like something. I'll take that out. There. And the same on the other side. It's too bright. But we haven't finished over there yet. What can we have over there? Well, you can put whatever you wish. I'll put a couple of palm trees over there. So with a fan brush just loaded with dark, I'll put in a palm tree. I'll show you how to do these in a minute. Palm trees have about 12 fronds, but there's no need to paint that many in. I'll paint in a little trunk with a fan brush, and underneath the trunk we need that bit of dark. Otherwise it'll look like it's hanging in mid-air. I'll unload the brush here. You see the brush has still got paint on it, so I might as well use it with a horizontal brush stroke here and darken this area. And then by loading the very edge of the painting knife with a bit of white, I'll put a white line down the inside of this tree. I suggest you practice these palms with a fan brush, dab them on and make gentle curves and drag them down into leaves. Practice a few before you attempt to put them on your painting. And of course you need a trunk, which is just a thin line. And we'll do a few big ones. You can get them very detailed by pulling the fan brush down, and there's all leaves hanging off the fronds. They look good. It really is worth practicing these, and remember you need crispy, clean paint. Don't let your paints get mixed together. I'll put another little palm in the background here because that space between the palm and the side of the board is just a bit too much. You'll notice this background one's very dull because we don't want it too sharp. We'll leave it so you can just see it. By double loading this fan brush with light on one side and dark on the other, we can paint the foliage on the ground. You can paint these ferns in all over the ground, or you can put grass there, whatever you wish. I'll paint them in quickly. I'll reload the brush, dark on one side, light on the other. That time I picked up a lot of paint, so it looks like we're going to have big foliage. Let's have some palms. They come up and they must face into the picture. In the foreground we need very dark and very light. And you can overlap things with crispy palms hanging over the light spots and hanging over the dark spots, and this will make them look real. So dab, 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 dab. But when your brush runs out of paint, wipe it clean and reload it again. Don't keep using it when the paint's not fresh on the brush. You need crispy dark on one side and bright on the other. Now our tree looks a little bit neglected. We need to put some more moonlight on the tree to balance with the ferns. So dab on some white, not too bright, and don't overdo it. And to finish off, I'll put a little dab of white on that palm tree there. Keeps your eye into the middle.